The golden sun was sinking behind the rolling hills of Willow Creek, painting the sky in shades of honey and fire as the small town prepared for its annual harvest dance, a night when everyone came together under the twinkle lights strung across the old barn to laugh, dance, and forget their troubles for a while. But for Lila Dawson, the shy cook from Maplewood Diner, tonight was shaping up to be one of the most nerve-wracking evenings of her life. She had spent the whole afternoon standing in the kitchen, her apron dusted with flour, heart pounding faster than her mixing spoon. Everyone in town knew her as the quiet girl who baked the best pies and avoided eye contact when someone flirted. What no one knew was that she had been invited to the harvest dance, or rather, cornered into going, by her ex-boyfriend Travis, the kind of man who believed the world revolved around him. He'd dumped her 6 months ago for a social media sweetheart who posted more selfies than smiles, and yet somehow, he still acted like Lila belonged to him. When he swaggered into the diner that morning, had tilted, voice smooth with arrogance, and told her he expected to see her there, something inside her snapped. She couldn't stand the thought of showing up alone and giving him the satisfaction of pitying her. That's when she saw him, Cole Anders, the heartbroken rancher everyone in town whispered about, sitting in his usual corner booth, nursing a black coffee in a silence deeper than midnight. He was tall, rugged, with eyes the color of storm clouds, and a face that carried too many scars of love and loss. Rumor had it his fiancée left him 2 years ago for a city banker, and since then he'd kept to himself, working the land by day and drinking his thoughts away by night. Lila had served him dozens of times, but had barely exchanged more than polite greetings. Still today, something inside her stirred. Maybe it was the desperation, maybe the ache to prove she wasn't invisible anymore. She took a shaky breath, wiped her flour-covered hands, and walked toward him. "Cole," she began, voice trembling like the autumn leaves outside. "Can you pretend to be my boyfriend for one night?" He looked up slowly, brow furrowed as though trying to decide if she was serious. The diner went quiet around them, the air thick with curiosity. "Your boyfriend?" he repeated, the word rough and disbelieving. Lila nodded, cheeks burning. "Just for tonight. For the harvest dance, my ex will be there, and I don't want to look pathetic." There was a pause so long she wished she could disappear into the floor. Then with a small, sad smile, Cole set down his cup. "You picked the wrong cowboy, sweetheart," he said, voice gravelly but soft. "I'm not exactly boyfriend. I'm material. I don't need—" "Perfect," she whispered, eyes glistening. "Just believable." Something flickered in his eyes then, a mix of curiosity and pain. Maybe he saw his own loneliness reflected in hers. Maybe he just wanted to feel needed again, even if it was pretend. After a long silence, he nodded. "All right. One night." The relief that washed through her was almost dizzying. That night, as the stars blinked awake above Willow Creek, the shy cook and the heartbroken rancher stood outside the glowing barn. Music drifted into the cool air, laughter spilling from inside. Lila wore a simple white dress, her hair loose around her shoulders, while Cole stood tall in a dark denim, shirt and boots that carried years of dust and stories. As they walked in together, whispers followed them like fireflies. Travis's smug smile faltered when he saw Lila on Cole's arm, her head tilted shyly toward him, eyes shining in the lamplight. For the first time in years, Lila felt seen, not as the quiet girl behind the diner counter, but as a woman who belonged beside someone strong and kind. Cole played the part perfectly, his hand firm at her back, his voice low and protective when he introduced her to others. But what neither of them expected was how real the charade began to feel. When the slow music started and Lila's hand slipped into his, the room faded away. His heart heavy with ghosts beat faster against hers. For a moment he forgot why he'd stopped dancing years ago. She smelled like cinnamon and rain, and when she looked up at him, he saw not pity but warmth, the kind that could thaw even the coldest soul. "You're good at this," she whispered nervously. Pretending, he gave a small smile. "Maybe I'm just remembering how it feels to care." The words hit her harder than she expected, and for a fleeting heartbeat, she wished it wasn't all pretend. The night spun with laughter, jealous glances, and a sweetness neither of them could explain. When Travis tried to cut in with his smug grin, Cole's arm tightened around Lila, eyes hard as steel. "She's taken," he said calmly, and in that moment, everyone in the barn knew this was no ordinary act. Lila's pulse raced. She'd never felt safer. As the night went on, they shared stories, laughter, and a dance under the stars outside the barn, far from the crowd. Cole confessed he hadn't smiled like this in years. Lila admitted she'd spent so long, hiding behind her shyness, she forgot what it felt like to be noticed. The more they talked, the less pretend it all became. When the night ended and Cole walked her back to the diner porch, the silence between them was different. Not awkward, but heavy with unspoken promises neither dared to break. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes soft, "for helping me tonight." He tipped his hat slightly, that faint, bittersweet smile tugging at his lips.
"Any time, Lila, but be careful. Keep pretending too long.
And you might forget. It's not real." Her heart fluttered as he turned and walked into the moonlight, boots echoing on the wooden boards. She didn't know if she'd see him again or if tonight had changed something forever. But deep down, she already knew the answer. As the wind